Hello, everybody. Welcome to Treasury Guild call, 18th April. And today we have a slim discussion, but I think it will be very important. Our first topic will be, do we want to recognize people who take part of consent process on chain? And I zoom into the topic. What's your first reaction? Anybody wants to dive in? Because I will say that, for example, when we don't have to go looking backwards, but let's say we take example this Q1 proposal, everybody, all the core contributors who put their name down, I think that could be an option that add like a checkbox. Do they want to be recognized? And then there could be like two things that people can show what they voted on. And another thing by recognizing is also on chain, do we want to put their wallet address behind this decision? So either it doesn't matter, like, did you vote yes, no, or abstain, but if you participated, your wallet is there. We don't just show what you did. And then we give you like, maybe we have Workgroup, maybe Workgroup tokens and fixed amount. And we also maybe just some AGX too, like 5 AGX or I don't know. Now it's actually worth. So, but yeah, like a small amount to keep that.
My initial thought would be to, for sure, keep track of who is participating. That would be a good thing. Not too keen on monetary rewards for voting, just because it kind of, well, at that point you don't know for sure why people are voting. If there's no monetary incentive, then, well, at least they're not doing it for the money. Would be an initial thought.
I'm a bit lost here. I didn't realize that the tool we were using was an on-chain vote. Is it?
It is not.
It is. Right, so there's no other way.
It is not.
Sorry.
Okay. I don't. It was a Google form, right? So there's nothing on chain.
Oh, no, I mean, I thought you... Yeah, I'm a bit confused. I thought you were talking about... Oh, I see.
This one.
I see what you're saying. I'm with you. All right. Yeah, it's just the way the question was phrased. I'm with you.
Okay, so no monetary rewards, but it's okay, for example, to have like a utility token Workgroup or something that we may or may not in future use to do some weights. Or use it or something.
Yeah, I would say it's a good thing to have, like, also potentially later on feeding into reputation systems, which can be broader than just ambassador program, but to have some, acknowledgement of having participated. And then I do agree with not capturing the actual vote, but yeah, participation.
When we capture the vote, do we just keep the title, what was voted on, and then last 6 digits of who participated in consent process? Are these the only two things what we or we want to somehow also make sense of how, like, the result, which way it went?
Yeah, there's been some discussion earlier on the topic. I'm not even sure what the context was, but technically it could at some point make sense to reward people differently. Like if they vote in line with the result of the outcome of the vote, that it could potentially have a different implication for a reputation score than if you vote against it. And I'm not saying that's a way to go, because I also have some clear problems with that. But I don't know. I think that maybe others can join in as well, and on like, would you capture people's votes, or would you do it without the vote?
Not retrospectively, I wouldn't. If people didn't know that that was happening when they voted, I'd feel a bit about doing it.
Yeah, fair. That brings the question: do you think it would impact future participation if people know it's going to be captured? Because that might be a downside, right?
I don't know. I sort of doubt it, but I just think, just on principle, you shouldn't do something with people's data retrospectively when they didn't know. That's all. I don't think it necessarily means it would put people off in future if we were open about it.
Yeah, and right now what we clearly are talking about are future stuff. So if any other vote we will do, how much do we capture of that on chain, and if at all?
Sorry, Tevo, excuse me. I'm just thinking that if we're participating in a sort of a public forum here, that the information contained within it during the meetings shouldn't really dissuade you wouldn't think would dissuade somebody from speaking up or not speaking up, if you know what I mean.
No, I didn't understand that. What?
The chat, as we communicate with each other through the chat, that's sort of us being public with each other, and there shouldn't be an issue with that being recorded, is what I'm sort of saying.
Yeah, fair. So that's more on like the ideation side of things rather than the actual yes or no vote, or whatever the vote is, or consent or check, or so you're just to make sure you're talking about the participation in the process, right?
Yes, I am, Peter.
Do you mean the process in this current call, or you mean the process in decision making?
I caught the first part in regards to this call, and I think I'm referring to this call, but I'm thinking that if we're having these meetings on a regular basis and they're part of the larger conversation of the community, then they should sort of be able to be kept there. If somebody wants to anonymize themselves, then I think you can look at doing that at a later date if it comes down to it, and or if they want to be taken out of the conversation.
Yeah, regarding that, removing might be more difficult, but then again, it is the motherboard itself is public, so whatever I'm recording here can go to screen. So if you later delete anything, it might be reconstructed depending who the reasoning behind it. I do sometimes copy paste to chat messages in here, but that kind of anonymous because I don't put names behind it. But if you want to have a name or contribution behind name, then yeah, need to be explicit about that. Otherwise, most of it is like anonymous suggestions in Discord, even though it's recorded and we can see each other. And the end of the discussion will be summarized into like decision items and action items. And there you can also help and contribute if something is off or missing. And yeah, that will then go to archive and for future reviews. So it's more of like being in the process of coming up with answers to the questions and coming up with good questions to move on. Vanessa?
Oops, sorry. Yeah, that sticky on the board about different reward results depending on which side opinion people were on. I kind of missed the comment And I'm just really hoping that that's not about rewarding people more for being on the winning side, is it? Because that's a really, really bad idea in my view.
Well, I brought it up, also noting that I don't think this is something we should implement because there's clear downsides to it. I just noted it as something that did come up in earlier discussions of like governance events and
Did it? My God.
a reputation around it.
That's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Because people, you know, it'll be discouraging people from thinking independently, and they will be trying to land on the side of what everybody else thinks. So we rob ourselves of any kind of critique or input which is divergent from what people think is going to be the majority view. So yeah, a really bad idea.
No, I agree. That's a very solid objection to the concept. Yeah, I'm not saying it's something we should be looking to implement.
Okay. But going back to the what do we recognize? Do we just recognize title and the participators, or we also recognize what was the decision? And
By title, do you mean the title of the decision?
the question, yeah, basically.
Okay.
So in that case, what we had, where is the form we used? Did we use form? Did we even put something here? This is not. Do we have something here? Nope. How do I find the consent process? Maybe in here.
Yeah, I would say all we really care about in the end is people participating in the governance event. So then you don't, well, you do need a name just to distinguish them from each other, but that's it.
So that would be the title. To accept the Q1 2000 budget regarding and 6-digit wallets, there will be the list of just these things and a bunch of them. They would be all of the wallet addresses of the users. And then do we want result? The result will be then either one of these three.
Wait, do you mean the result of the vote or the option you selected as your preference?
The final like outcome. And let's get it inside here.
I do think it would be good to have the results on chain. Sure, no objections there. But if you're capturing individual responses, that I wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we want not just the result, but the numbers, like how many voted which way, but not identifying it with an individual. Although I just wonder, just thinking then, say like if it's really polarized and it's most people for and one person against, as it was, does that make the one person too identifiable? I just don't know.
Probably not. On chain, not really. I don't think so. If we do actually have different results, it might have complication on chain because this is a consent proposal, but if we have any other, okay, so it's only on, yeah, okay, we focus on consent. If there is any other kind of proposal that the on-chain outcome would be totally different. So yeah, like we can, I guess, make a format of how do we do the numbers. I think it's very related, similar to what is that we discussed somewhere. But if not, then we can come up with that. That's basic. Okay, so at the beginning, I kind of ideated like, do we want for people who want to be public, who want to say their opinion, do we want to make this also a possibility, or we don't focus on that right now? If they want to be public, they just say this is me, this is what I voted, and that's it. We don't do any kind of system reflection on that.
Well, there's also a separate topic in, or a closely related topic in chat, Vanessa suggesting that perhaps we could also look at who filled in the form on during the process and who was in the decision meeting afterwards when there was an objection. Would that be something to even consider?
Yeah, but that would be a meeting and that would be another Tevo task of whoever's focus is supposed to gather these people. And here I'm merely scoping it. We had this Google form, it automatically ended. It generated this kind of result that goes on chain based on the feedback form submissions.
And it wouldn't have to be a D-work thing, would it? Because we've got the results in the form, as you say, so we wouldn't need to do it any other way than just look at the number of responses we got, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I just brought up D-work as something I just used to quickly get something on chain. But of course, it will take a little bit more time because this is the technically, yeah, we could assign D-work names, but the result wouldn't be like that. So we will need custom edits on metadata anyway. It wouldn't be like a treasury system link. I like the pool, but like a different time. Okay, so on that side, is there anything is missing? Something that is too much here? We should be like, I turned it into pink because that's kind of, we're not gonna look into it. But there is thought of providing governance workgroup tokens. The details, I guess we will take it to governance workgroup. Details of that opportunity or new type of tokens will be discussed and discuss this like in one meeting, or like it may not be even in the call itself, but in general, like do they want to use their tokens or this experiment?
Well, also, I would like a bit broader check on prefer no monetary incentives, because I just said that and there was nobody really stepping up, but maybe there's other thoughts in the room on it.
I did notice
I
one
agree
as
with-
yeah.
I agree with no monetary.
Yeah, I thought I wrote that down as well, Peter. Sorry.
Yeah. Does anybody have a positive outcome that comes from rewarding people for voting and decision making?
Well, it's gonna boost participation numbers, right? That's the whole thing, I guess. Just to play devil's advocate to my own argument, but yeah, there's a definite positive outcome there. All right, seems nobody with no monetary incentives. Let's leave it at that.
Nobody took a bullet. Okay, then next item, Q2 proposal acceptance criteria.
Before we move on, Tevo, can I just ask what have we decided? Is it gonna just go to governance workgroup? Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing is from governance workgroup to discuss, like, do they want to provide their own tokens, or or we should have a different type of token, if that takes an effect. And then the later of stuff, this is for Treasury Guild. But it might come up in operations call again, but it might not. It depends how we technically solve this.
Have we decided that we're just recording participation in the actual meeting, or are we recording completing the form as well? Sorry, I'm a bit slow today. I'm not following.
What you mean, like form?
Have we decided that we're recording who completed the form, or are we only recording who was at the decision-making meeting?
Here it's only focusing who submitted to the form.
Okay, cool.
Or in that case, it's actually not going to be a form, because from the last governance workgroup, I understood we're going to use this citizen gov OS, if I'm right, or maybe wrong with name, but like a different tool. But the outcome is still saying that from outcome we want who participated, what it was about, and what was the result. And we
Yeah, I'm just trying to define what we mean by participated. That's all.
okay, good one. Which to make decision.
Right, because I think I disagree with that. I think it should be people who completed the form as well, because the actual decision was made in the meeting. Oh, you're saying on the form. All right, this is just a language thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. All right, so we're not clocking separately who actually went to the meeting.
Yeah.
Or we are. Okay.
No.
Cool. Cool.
I mean, that being said, that meeting in itself should have its own dework task and rewards, which currently is not in place, I don't think.
Yeah, and I kind of think we should log who was there as well, because like we were saying up further in the chat, it makes a difference that 18 people filled in the form and only like, what, 9 or 10 were in the actual meeting, because even though it didn't happen this way, technically, people could have changed their minds in that meeting. So I just think if we're defining a process for a consent decision-making process, we should record who was there and whether anyone changed their mind, if that makes sense. Because that's how a consent process works. People could. And so we need to record that people didn't. Well, no, actually, no, somebody did. The person who objected changed their mind. So, yeah, we just need to have this captured.
You mean even the change of mind? I think that the change
Yeah,
of
because
mind.
that was absolutely core to the decision process, Tevo, was the fact that there was an objection and the person who objected withdrew their objection. So that's why the whole thing was approved. If they'd sort of said no, I still think it's not a good idea, we'd have had to go through a further process, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
there's two different things where this is like a procedure, and you could write that down in sweeping summary. So it kind of bases back to our default kind of working, where this is only looking like like participation on decision making on the form itself, on the tool itself.
Yeah.
Most of that can be like automated.
I'm just thinking if we're gonna record the decision-making process on chain somehow, I think we have to record how it went. I mean, I'm even thinking maybe there's a slightly different governance token for people who did or didn't change them. I don't know. But it feels like just recording who participated doesn't tell us much about the decision. Maybe we don't want it to. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's why also here we will consider first, do we want to have a vote or result out there, and just have a list of, this is amount of people and these are the decisions they're making. They're accepting quarters, they're accepting budget, they're accepting words, they're accepting workgroups. They're like, over time you will see the range of how many people are voting and what kind of decisions they're doing, and then you get a graph of where people are interested in what kind of questions. This result stuff that will make it slightly more complex, but I'm not sure also what to do is the result here that important. But
I don't know. I think we just maybe need to like further think about it, maybe in a governance meeting. But I think the principle I'm thinking about is capturing how the decision was made and how we got to that decision without necessarily linking any individual to, oh, this is how they voted or this is what they did. It's like it's just how many people did this and how many people did that. And I think changing your mind so that the decision goes through is kind of core. You know, if we'd had a different decision where there were 5 objections and 4 of them changed their minds and 1 didn't, we'd need to know that. We need to capture that. I'm not necessarily sure it needs to be captured on chain, but it would be interesting if we could find ways to do that without identifying people with, you know, as individuals or even as wallets with how they voted. I don't know.
In my mind, meeting summary would suffice for that.
No, I suppose you're right. I mean, we haven't got one though, have we? Did anyone even write one? I know I didn't.
I did take notes. Let me walk to my other system and see if I have notes there.
Sorry, this is derailing the meeting. Sorry, Tevo.
Interesting
Oh,
though.
Soundwave is in the chat going, I have an idea. Please tell us.
My mic is nope at the moment. But yeah, but you can type. I'm going to turn the numbers of result pink for now, just to have a smaller scope so that we can put this thing in place. We recognize decisions that are like collectively aggregated somewhere, and that will be it. We can implement that quite easily, and then I don't know, for a few months this quarter basically we do it like that. If there are any other changes we need or adding, or we need more results, we need different tokens, something, then we can of course come back and improve that. So we addressed that kind of thing. But now I would go to the second topic. We may come back here again after we read the Soundwave's information. But on the topic of Q2 proposal and accepted criteria, what do we expect? So let's say we have a new proposal coming in. I think Guillermo dropped me a totally new document today. What it needs to have in order to accept it? Actually, what we need, we have answered already by having these minimum requirements. Now the question is, how do we audit it, I guess? How do we validate the impact of, say, proposal? In other innovation grants or grant funds, there are some are doing like ranked, like you rate it from 1 to 5, some other stuff, like impact, feasibility, and I don't know what Project Catalyst does. Tip funding is doing 1 to 10 rating, I guess, and then it has the pros and cons you can say about the proposal. In Ambassador program, so far, we have been opening the proposal and just saying, does the cost budget lines make sense? I think that's the only criteria we have done so far. And with that, we really couldn't still get to accepting the proposal. But then we have this issue that all of the proposals were accepted, but their total amount of requests was bigger than our Ambassador project. And we couldn't get to like to the same level of, hey, let's everybody take down the costs, so we could fit it. So yeah, any thoughts? Which directions are like the simplest things we could do so that the next in 2 weeks when we have this call again, we open up the proposals and we can be like, this is perfect proposal, this will probably pass. Or this is enough, like we can, because we did say that we're going to have a consent process for each proposal. Maybe that is enough, but would that be that 100% consent or like yes votes? Most probably will abstaining. If there is one blocker, does it mean proposal will not pass until that blocker is removed?
Tevo, can I jump in? Probably I can add something to this. But when I was putting together the proposal, I worked with a template. We developed the R&D proposal at the beginning of this quarter. I think it was a use case of having a template to follow these guidelines. I use that, and I try to keep following the question, how do we validate the impact of this proposal at the end of each quarter? I did have a bunch of how we can evaluate. And I went back to what the swarm was showing the other day, the results of all the contributions that the Ambassador program, the estimated Ambassador program, delivered through this year and a half or so. And I kept as simple as possible these evaluation items, you know. I even deleted the potential outputs because we have that on the estimate KPIs that we can, you know, say that we will achieve and all that. But the number of interactions, how we call them, contributions, okay, and deliverables are a key metric for where we're trying to probably validate the results. And then we can add a detail on which or what are these contributions, okay? What is the added value that they bring to the program, to the ecosystem, and so forth. And then we can build on that a rating, as you are suggesting on that item, on that sticky. But we need metrics to build on upon a rating. You know, if we want to make it not us just clicking, you know, a value on stars, you know, from 1 to 10. We want that value to come from an equation or an algorithm that put all this, all this, figures or elements in an equation, and then the rating will come up from all this, adding all of this analytic. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense on my end anyways.
But when you are like aggregating together, are you meaning aggregating the single proposal, different metrics together, or we have like 1, 2 metrics like Project Catalyst, and then the holistic view of how these metrics compare to other proposals? So let's say we have this impact metric, and then we compare, okay, all of these proposals, they have like 4 impact, they have 5 impact. And then you see, okay, however, this has like their feasibility has 0, and you have this like holistic view of.
Yeah, no, a general. No, so what we did, following the template again, is to add this, how we want to be evaluated, or, you know, kind of, instead of putting what would be the potential outcome, we will make the relevant metric contributions and deliverables and engagement and new people coming from the region, in this case, so each proposal should have that evaluation in mind for their own purposes. But no, I agree that probably this is one of the evaluation metrics that we need to pursue and to add to that general holistic, because we need to have a way to rate all the proposals the same way. So no, I agree with what you're saying. Being the metrics on contributions, engagement, this will be the key metrics for all. You know, impact sometimes is something that you can. It's a narrative. If you don't put a value behind that, you know, we want to help people, and just so rating a proposal before it's executed is just evaluating the potential impact as in Catalyst, reviewing before the assessment before they become a potential we are evaluating previously and after. The evaluation metrics that I included in the proposal is it will be after that, you know. But I agree, we can rate before it is approved, as we have the peer review in the funding, and most important, after on each quarter reports, we can add how everybody's doing. We can rate how you're running the field.
Okay, so from the last sentence, the main idea is that we focus on outcomes. So feasibility is basically the main track record of what do we look from Ambassador program proposals. If it's totally new, we probably will try to get it in and make basically we allow basically get it in, and which I guess I don't know what the budget is with the, but after they already have been funded, we will have very strong guidelines that okay, if what you propose does not match to the outcomes, you are less likely to be funded in future.
Exactly, and that's why the quarterly reports are important. But at the same time, there will be just narratives without deliverables, proof of deliverables, and that will come with contribution, engagement, and all these things that we can rate. Well, we can add these data sets into whatever system, and it will be like a contribution, you know, rating. So that will keep, you know, like running all week on training is not enough. It will be enough to get on the game on Sunday, but if on Sundays you get every time in offside, that drops the value of all the training you do. So just running is not enough. You need to prove that you are useful on Sunday. So I'm sorry for this football analogy, but at the end is that we can write a lot on a report, but still we need this to be able to quantify. So yeah, and that way we can build a metric, not on reports. We can have a metric that is the quality of the report, if you want, you know, because it is good to have organizational structure and all of that. Where we can make it mandatory, people will want this report to be added into the rating, but rating will be a most general thing about evaluating results.
Yeah, just on this this concept of looking at deliverables, or kind of how have you phrased it? Yeah, proof of deliverables. Tevo, I don't know if you've got archives budget submission handy, because I haven't, but sorry, no, quarterly report. That's what I'm looking for. Let me find it. And what I've tried to do is link what we did to each budget line. Let me just find it and I'll post it. I feel like it's not ideal as a reporting methodology because it links everything to money and it doesn't allow you to be discursive about what you learned and what you did. But I think there might be something in it that we can, you know, that could be valuable. You can see our actual spend versus our original budget. And then we've got reporting notes against each budget item. I think it's a little fiddly, and I don't know if everybody would want to do that. I mean, because we run our project on a GitHub project board, I can link to every single issue. But other people would find other ways to do that. But is that the kind of thing that you're thinking of, Guillermo, when you're talking about linking?
Yeah. Again, this is, I'm going to copy everything you do, Vani. You already know that. I'm already doing it. We presented the Git project yesterday.
Mhm.
We started using the same tool you guys, and we want to try to emulate. I was about to write to you to give a one-on-one workshop on how you use it. I didn't want to bother, but it will come eventually. But yeah, this is exactly a way. And going back to the written report, I really liked what we learned.
Yeah.
I did want to have a time yesterday with the team to go through the conclusions, bring concerns. I couldn't do it because I have to run out. But it's going to be something that we'll discuss next Wednesday, and probably will include it in the report, because we did good from where we started and where we are in the R&D Guild, but we need to level our game. We know we think we know how to do it, but why try to reinvent everything if you guys are doing great? So, and having a conclusion workshop each quarter can really help. It did for all the ambassadors what we did with Felix at the end of last year. So I will add that to our report. So probably I go and dig on your files. Can I do that?
Yeah, gosh, can. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like this whole, what we're saying about best practices and sharing, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that other work groups will look at that and go, oh no, I can see a better way of doing it. Because what I wouldn't want is to lose the insights that you get in the narrative version. But yeah, we probably do have to do some tracking against what people said they'd do in their budgets. I mean, maybe we could do it less granular than that. So it's not like every single budget line you have to say, look, yeah, we did that and here's the proof. Maybe it's more generally the key things that you say, like at the top of if you just scroll up a little bit, Tevo, right to the top, we've got our strategic focus for the quarter. So maybe it's like, yeah, did you achieve any of that with the money that you had? Maybe that's something, rather than making it so granular as I've done it there. I mean, I did this just to see what it was like, and I think it's probably overkill. It took a while and it felt, too granular, I think.
As we are the R&D, just to bring an example of a very different guild, there is a project-based. What we suggested, what we brought in, is a quarterly report from the general guild. And then I put together a template that I shared with everybody. Everybody's free to decompose this document, and to have each proposal, so each project that is being developed, to have a report on the status on this development. And there's the place where we can go granular. I don't know how deep we are getting, because some projects are in different phases. Some are in blueprints, some are in research. So, but at least we thought that it was important as the first quarter of this guild to bring results, and even if it's a glass of water, because you need to gain trust by proving or presenting. And in this document, that also includes narrative and all descriptions, is where you can find links and a wider and a deeper analysis on where is the tool. And there, where we keep adding the status on this development while they become functional artifacts, let's say. But again, I'm sorry, Vani, I'm using the Treasury called Tevo for this, but so I have the doc here, and this document on the chat is the report. And if not, I can find them. Well, you can share it with me. So I have the Excel, but the written report. Can you share that link on the chat, Vani, please?
Yeah, just a sec. I think Peter's already shared it, the written report. It's further up.
This one I'm sharing.
Yes,
Got it.
it's there.
It's there. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that report is a link to the spreadsheet version. So you've got both. I mean, what I was just going to ask you, Guillermo, is the stuff you're doing that you were just talking about, do you think that allows you to kind of do the qualitative reporting that a narrative text-based one allows you to do? Because that's what I was missing with the spreadsheet version. It was kind of like, yes, it's very granular, and yes, it's very accountable. Like, did we spend the money on what we said we would? But the qualitative stuff about, was it good? Was it valuable? You can't really get that into a spreadsheet that easily. And I feel that something that's more narrative kind of allows us to see more what we're achieving. I don't know. I wanted to try the spreadsheet version because it was an idea that I had. And I think I've brought it up in these meetings before, but I'm not convinced by it now I've tried it. I don't know. I don't know what people think.
No, I think it's both are complementary. I think that the written report is a place where we can explain things that numbers and a spreadsheet you can get. What I added to these two elements is a third element that is because we are project based. So each project will, so it's a status report more than a report like the one you just shared or the one I tried to put together. And again, I'm going to copy all of this for the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think it's also about this project-based thing. We've talked about this in these meetings before, the idea of funding for core activities and then funding for projects. And we've realized that that would vary from group to group. Like your work group is entirely project-based. Archives is mostly. Some are entirely core activity. And I think that's just an interesting distinction as well.
On the budget side, I do like this approach because because of the same way you're doing it, you just have it in GitHub. You have like every single thing already costed and you kind of know what happened. Your proposal is always like planning like the space that you do the tasks or you kind of think through that, okay, management, I don't know what can go into management. There could be many things, but from previous experience, $400 should be enough. And then here on the right side, you have every detail. So like, oh, I manage the payment and I manage another payment. And basically, you could aggregate this all into a very specific line that was put on budget line on the left side. So it does give this very good transparent list of proving the like well spent money. It can be somewhat automated. I assume you did it like 2 screens and just trying to figure out.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I sort of knew you'd like it, Tevo, but I don't know. I think we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing this kind of reporting? What is it we're trying to find out? This version kind of tells us whether a work group is misusing funds or not. If we're worried about that, then we should probably do it this way. But if we want to know what we can learn and, you know, what we have learned by doing the work that a work group does, you need the text-based version, in my view. And I know what you're saying, Guillermo, that it's kind of a bit of both maybe, but I don't think a work group should need to do both of those for their reporting because it's too much. It's not, it wouldn't be fair. And I'm wondering if we can find a way to get the best of both worlds that isn't too much overhead.
Yeah, I think it can have both because there are like, when people are proposing, they're always proposing budget lines and proposal. Well, they might not have proposal. And if you don't have proposal, maybe you don't have to have a report. But it's the same way we are doing these budget lines. I was looking at the Treasury Guild. Actually, maybe I can take the Latam one. So you have this introduction, okay, that's fine. But going into like quals and long-term objectives, you have basically the report is just a copy of that saying, okay, this was our call, how much, what we established regarding community expansion, what worked, what didn't work, was there any lessons? And you go step by step. So you basically, your proposal is your structure of how do you report. And and you basically answer your own hypothesis and your expectations with the report itself. So if you have a long proposal, you might have a long report itself. And when you go to like this, like you have like these budget lines, yeah, I think that there can be these kinds of stuff. And it could be too much detail. But then again, if we somehow help it to give a list of, hey, this is all your workgroup activities. If they do it in Tevo, I can simply send them the spreadsheet and they can cross over or like group them themselves and be like, okay, this is that goes under that thing. Oh, that thing is actually this and this thing. And you will start to learn how did you manage your project after effect. And then your next budget line will be much better, because what we may not see from here is the improvement you will do for the Q3 based on what the reporting work and the proposal. So it always kind of symbiosis should give a better outcome, and the more to the future, the easier it should be getting. And if it's something that is really helpful for us to kind of grow, we probably are more and more automating all of that information aggregation.
I think that's absolutely key what you just said there about how this approach doesn't show you how you draw on what you did in Q1 to decide what you're going to do in Q2. And that's what's missing.
Yeah, I agree with both. And I like the idea of using the proposal as a guidance, a template for deliverables as you presented to you, with showing the one proposal.
I mean, maybe it depends on the work group as well. And maybe these should be options for how people could report. And maybe some will choose to use a narrative approach and others will choose to use another. But I'm thinking that the narrative version, we've got a lessons learned at the end, but we also need, what have we learned that we need to do in Q2 at the end? That's the missing element, I think.
Yeah, and that's the one I'm going to incorporate in the R&D. You know, I was expecting for yesterday conclusions to build something on the document, and again, I'm going to use the work you guys put together as a guidance. You know, and probably half of the words, because your English is better than mine.
No, my English is rubbish, Guillermo. It's terrible.
And I have to say, Vani, I did type Vanessa Cardui on the search engine to find out that you're a butterfly. Okay, so
Absolutely, this is how I hide.
thank you for joking. That's a good joke.
If I can, just for a second, Tevo, excuse me, and Guillermo and Vanessa, if I can be of help for anybody with doing any writing or anything like that, looking at things, I'd be quite happy to help out.
You mean writing reports, or trying to make this into the suggestion format for people to read how we are going to accept future proposals?
Yeah, I'm guessing in regards to using language, as Guillermo said, in English language, I'm pretty strong in that area when it comes to writing. So I just thought, if there's anything that I can do that I can help out with, I'd be quite happy to help.
That's great, William, to know that. Can you write on the chat your Discord tag? And do you know about the writers work group that have a meeting on Fridays?
Yes, I do. I participated last week, and I'll be participating tomorrow as well.
Good, great.
And my handle on Discord is the same as here, I think, Billy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Regarding
Yes.
writing content, the peak challenge from today's call would be to these notes and this discussion we have about validating of proposals into a document, a narrated document that gives open space for people to propose solutions, and also kind of understand that some of the solutions are something that we are focusing towards. Because none of these are decisions, but they are like guiding guidelines usually we are writing. Our discussions are trying to pinpoint like the easiest features we could implement for this quarter. And Vanessa. But before you start, Vanessa, I would want to kind of mention that we have been talking about how do we validate the after effect, but what do we do with all the new work groups that don't have prior information? Are we just gonna let them in? So whoever proposes, they are just gonna be, we have this consent process, and this is gonna be 100% consent process, and be just in, or there gonna be some leeway, some easier stuff?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to raise. I mean, onboarding work group has said that we are up for trying to draft some context setting document around the decision on Q2 budgets. And I think we've had a really interesting conversation on how we think work groups should report, but I don't feel that clear about what we're saying about how what the criteria are to make a decision. When we look at somebody's report, what are we looking at? And at this, bearing in mind that people haven't, they've done what they've done. They haven't had the input that we've just kind of tried to collate. And I'm just thinking, what are we saying on, two core contributors on the question of, I don't want to tell people how to decide. Obviously, it's their decision, but I think we do need some context setting stuff around. I mean, I keep maintaining the idea that I don't think we should be expecting people to say, I object to this budget because they have costed something that I don't think is valuable. That shouldn't be the issue. But what should?
And what do you do if that's actually the case? If you feel that way?
Well, I think, no, I know, but I think honestly, if that's what you feel, you can feel it, but it shouldn't be part of the decision-making process, in my opinion. It shouldn't be a valid objection. I look at some people's budgets and I think, I don't really know that that's that valuable, but if they think it is, and I don't go to that work group, it's not my business. If we're really saying that we're decentralized and each work group has the right to make decisions about what it does and what it works on, then just because I don't think it's valuable and I'm not part of that group, I shouldn't be saying that. Or at least it shouldn't be part of my reasons to object. I don't know what, I think probably other people are like, no, it absolutely should, but I'd like to hear why.
I'm just wondering on a practical level what other objections there would be. Like, it's a budget, so it's gonna be about the budget. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I think a valid objection might be they haven't itemized it enough. I don't know what it means. I don't know what they're suggesting spending money on.
If I could pipe in, I would say that I agree with Vanessa's assessment that if we're not inside the individual group, then how do we know what they've done in the research area to validate their work prior to it coming to the table? And wouldn't that be the responsibility of somebody who's got engagement with the top member within that group to validate it one way or another, rather than just dismiss it out of hand because they think it might be spurious?
Soundwave approach.
Yes, to follow up, I agree with Vanessa and Bill, and also to bring to your mind here is for somebody to possibly use it in the wrong manner. Maybe they would have something to say to slow down the progress or to extend the decision-making process. And you don't want somebody to just slow it down because they feel like they're not ready, or they feel like someone else isn't ready. So they'll hold up progress by casting the wrong vote. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Tevo, you have your hand up. I don't know if you want to go for something.
Yeah, I'm just trying to finish how to notice when people prefer to slow down or extend process and it's not the real blocker. So we are recognizing blockers is our main thing. I think make something probably we might learn from sociocracy 3.0. There might be some examples that we can think of. From my side, I'm thinking perhaps there is a value in who are proposing, because we are a small group of here, we know each other. Can we have a Treasury Guild call where people are coming with a proposal and they go line by line of each their proposal budget, so they have like a video content of that thing. And if they can't join the call or they have different reasons, they can also make a 2-3 minute recording. So the goal is not to read the proposal when, for example, you have this Latam proposal here. Yes, you say what is this proposal about, and you give like few elements in here, 1-2 sentences, and then in the budget sheet, now depends how many lines you have here. You simply go, this is operation, what, and you have very detailed here, like reasoning, but some might not have that reasoning, they just have this task and amount. So having that kind of video that goes through all of these elements would give that context, I think, compared to just reading it. And because then the proposer or the team can tie it together, like how are these people related, and can put like a narrative. And that should give like a holistic view on where the budget is going, and the proposal is just setting the ethos or like the general view.
I like the idea, like idea fest.
Yeah, basically, but can be done asynchronously. However, everybody who doesn't have videos, they basically won't accept it. So that would be again like maybe a hard stop. But what you guys think?
That's a good one. That's a good one. So and another thing, when you were talking, Vani, and going back to the evaluation process and the voting system that we are trying to put together for budget approval. Because the ideal, I was thinking when I'm cooking, would be to build a system that is automatized, or probably later on build on these ratings, okay, on the evaluation process and outputs that it brings all data sets into an equation that we will rate results. How good are we doing? Bringing data from this spreadsheets, reports, contributions, and all of that. That will avoid the blockers, will avoid clashing, will avoid discussions and all that, or can elevate the discussion into a proper analytic discussion. There will be one representative of each guild could go through this information or ratings and see where teams need to elevate their game, or yeah, it will be everything against results. No, what we will be analyzing will be results, and it will be data information, and then the holistic. Okay, as everybody was saying, so how we once will see value on what you're doing, some others not. But if we are gonna have a discussion about that, but don't incorporate that in the decision making, so that's just a discussion. We need to avoid discussion. Discussions are valuable when they add value. So it will be a discussion on how you do things. But if we find a way to evaluate the approval of the budgets that keep, it's just based on information and results, and it comes from a rating. Maybe probably this will lower the budget or give you more budget. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Because if we create a system, it would be better than just having a discussion. It will be a governance challenge, you know, at the end.
Yeah, I think one thing you need to, I guess, to differentiate with this, at least from my perspective, from in this Treasury Guild, we're not trying to pull the system to have like another innovation grant fund. We're actually, my intent is to have a proposal system that makes us closer to understand what are we proposing and budgeting. So it's, we work as a team where it's, but how is the team if we don't even trust that our budget, like deliverables, and it would be like a question, but yeah, I think the trust has to be built first, and that's why if someone maybe is very granular and like annoying, but I think it will be worthwhile, because what are we leveling up is our own ability to explain our ideas, our projects, and our own understanding of where the money goes when we do stuff.
Yeah, and if you take, so trust is based on results, and the way you prove deliverables is just a methodology on how you do. But at the end, if you take that trust issue of the table, there's not a discussion on that. It's, oh, there it is, there's a link. Oh, there is this, you're adding this value. So as we walk further into working in a system, automatically bring that, and it develops in a rating or something like that. Again, I'm just thinking out loud, probably it's a good thing to work on or to have a discussion on. Probably people think, no, you know, the machine thinking for us, no, it's us giving data, and just, yeah, at the end it's an equation. It's the X value at the end.
In the chat, I see a very diverse discussion from different people about the budget capping, which I always try to bring up, that it has so many hard pros and cons. We might like to do a pros and cons table of that, but I do agree that having a budget is necessary. And the way I would introduce is the same way we like, there is this introduction. So the first you propose an idea, and then you work up your idea, then you get the work group, then you have a budget sheet, so then you close even more, then you have a proposal with budget sheets, then perhaps this proposal is going to have more projects under budget sheet that are different work groups. So the budget limit should be also very similar, probably, that it starts off like, hey, the first quarter, you're a new person, like if you don't have anybody from already existing contributor roles doing the proposal, maybe 2,000 is maximum limit. Then the next quarter, you already double it to 6,000. So it's annoying, so that you cannot get your full trailblazing from the day one. But feeling the way it has gone in Intersect and in here, where this small budget are given, seems to be the best way to kind of get into, because in the end, Amabssador program is, I still feel like this is not meant to be like you come and work here. it's meant to be like the gateway into the decentralization or into singularity net. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Sorry, so my last point, I have to jump off. So the proposal for the Latam Guild, we send you probably later, we can present it. I did want to commit to the dates. We talked last meeting, governance, on when it will be a proper timing for presenting new proposals. The timeline that it's embedded on the proposal, it's starting on May, and it's basically a 2-minute description. I went through it with Peter before opening to the community. I was trying to build a thought process on how to do this. It started in Panama. It is based on the foundations of the Latam community that it was granted on the deep funding. And it sparked a lot of different discussions and possibilities. The Latam region is a very strong community engaged in blockchain and development with a lot of startups. And so it's a very fertile place for decentralization and experiencing with governance and all the stuff we're doing here. And I reached, so Esther reached me about this because we talk about all this different stuff like deep funding in Latam, the deep funding, you know, because language barriers and all of this. And the idea of building a structure, okay? People, okay? Us contributors to do that. And I say, okay, so I'm an ambassador. I'm here because I'm an ambassador. So we should build whatever we build for that kind of objectives, it should be ambassador based. So the idea of what is being built here, it has amazed me personally in terms of development and entrepreneurial builder or whatever, good cook. It's my best skill. It had really, it is really strong. So discussing how to present this, this process thought was like, okay, straight directly to the foundation was one of the suggestions. Through the global strategy proposal from Esther and Haley was another one. And I went back to basic. It is through the ambassador. It is with the ambassadors program. It shouldn't go and divide. And this is the talk we had with Peter a week ago. And I say, okay, dude, let's discuss this. I need to do this with the ambassadors, with the support of the ambassadors, using the ambassador structure. We can repeat, we shouldn't have a separate treasury, we shouldn't have a different agenda items. Or yeah, it will be culturally have specific treatment of things. But we need to start with what is working on the ambassadors and try to emulate it or replicate it. Translate, make a translation of the archive work Oracle and use that tool, not build another tool and build another. So I was really happy to have the consent with Peter that it was the best way to start this, to build a guild. And that then can evolve in a branch, a franchise. I don't know how we can do it because we need a guild structure and then work groups into that guild to operate the different needs. And we will start with communication that will include marketing and I think it's marketing work group on that, but keep it on the umbrella of communications to have one north and one argument and one creative brief, one strategy brief and all that. And then an operation and strategy guild that we have onboarding and governance. And we will try to, on this first quarter, we're proposing to build the structure, incorporate 4 members to the structure we have already, and to have a player from Mexico, one from Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil. That are the 4 stronger countries. And we are following the research we did for the Latam community development that we jump-started in January. So we are working foundationally on top of the foundations we build with the Latam community, and using the ambassador power, and all the secret recipes. And so that's what the proposal presents, and just small objectives for this quarter to start operations and to then keep onboarding and to grow in the community here in Latam with the ambassador program, not a different ambassador. I'm proudly part of this organization, team, friends, or whatever you want to put it. So I think it will. First thing Peter said, and sorry, Peter, I don't want to talk for you, but this can inspire other regions to copy so it will be also including a good lab to try and experiment different ways of what we have spread, try to go back, decompose, deconstruct, and try to copy what we did good, and have all these learning experiences that how Vani was putting this on the report, that we can now try it in a smaller scenario, simulate it in a different way in this lab that will be this skill. That's the main idea.
Yeah, no, we're speaking on my behalf because I fully agree. I'm not sure if templatizing is the right word or in this exact context, but yeah, like we discussed, there's been some interest, for example, in Africa, similar approach, and I could see one for, well, any region, right? Yeah, it can be anywhere. I think it's really good, and it will lower the bar for local communities to participate, and that's what it's all about.
Cool. And the other thing, the word you use, it will show unity to the ecosystem and to the foundation, and I think that's key. Thing on why I reach the ambassadors and say, let's go through this thinking process together and let's see how we put. And Peter gave me some ideas on how he did start this. So yeah, I'm following that. So he's helping me to co-lead this endeavor, and hopefully we get somewhere and we keep ourselves united with a strong structure. We can get it whatever the fuck we want. So I'm strongly committed with this. So thank you, Peter, for your support on this, and everybody here for their good work, because we're gonna use it, copy paste all of it.
We have 3 minutes until the session is ended. So we didn't get to open topics. But then I also have one question: can you block paste an opinion, or it's not as impactful? If it's not as impactful compared to other proposals, so can you compare proposals that are on the list and then make, okay, there are 5 proposals. If I select all of them, it will go out budget, but I'm gonna take this one out because I think this is the least impactful. Is that a valid blocker? That is something I'm wondering, because right now we are probably going ahead with like consent process. So in next 2 weeks, over this week, I will put up an example of Treasury Guild consent feedback form. Or no, not feedback form. Yeah, I guess feedback form, because I'm not sure how fast this Sociocratic thing. Maybe need to asynchronously talk with the work group, the Governance Workgroup, to see, can we just start using all the Sociocratics, so the OS stuff. If not, then we create the feedback form, and then we create feedback for every other proposer that is submitting by the next week. And then let's say next week, Thursday. So Thursday, same time, you have time to propose budget and proposal or budget this spreadsheet. And then it will go into consent process. Right now it's just, this meeting will describe all the downsides and issues that we may occur in the contributors role, but most likely the next week, if we see blockers, then we're gonna have most of the call about how do we handle these blockers and what blockers can bring up. This list is gonna increase. So this is something we probably are going to like PBL style learn what are going to be our issues as we are trying to get across our proposals and budget sheets. Maybe we get some proposals funded, you don't know that. And then after the next Treasury Guild meeting where we go through this and see the first results of what get funded, we then have another cohort in for the next month for submissions, again, consent forms or this new social crisis stuff. And then that could also be the Q2 budget, but everything that is now beyond 6 months, proposal submissions and budget sheets that do not get accepted by then will be moved to Q3. So then we give us like 1 month of breathing to start with Q3 instead of trying to lock in Q2. So Q2 budget will be locked in by 6 weeks, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. You still, because we now have seen insights on several proposals, majority of them are increasing their rewards by thousands. I see a lot of people buzzing with new ideas and new members they're inviting in. So we may still end up in a situation where we are going to hit the max limit of the Ambassador program. And then the real hard stuff, because this current version of getting stuff in is very loose, very favorable for those who are proposing. And the quarterly stuff, how do we recognize all of that takes effect next quarter?
No, very much. We'll keep it short. Yeah, in my mind, it would kind of send off the wrong idea if we now tell work groups that they have 6 weeks to submit their proposals. I think we should provide some clarity and make it a bit shorter term, if possible.
So it's 2 stages. The first stage is you have 1 week to submit your form or like your proposal and request so that we can attach the consent form or the consent approach. And we will look, then this gives us another week to collect the consent feedback, and we can look at the results in Treasury Guild call in 2 weeks. And I'm quite sure we have so many blockers, so many issues, people won't make it. So then we have another cohort. However, if some case, which is probably not going to happen, that in this first cohort, there are enough proposals that request half of the money or 70 or 80% of already the fund possibilities, then you just need to be aware that even for the second round, you might not get funded because there is less budget rewards for this quarter. And you already need to start thinking ahead for Q3. Because the fastest way we kind of get this on trail is as when we are learning how do we even get these proposals in. And right now we just need to do it in a rough way, just push through anything we can as a quality, and based on that make learnings and make it always easier and easier to get more proposals in.
I just want to know, is there a reason why we think saying you've got to get your Q2 budgets in by the end of this month is too short? Because seriously, people should be, do you know what I mean? And I think maybe we should be saying also that for Q3, people should get them in by the end of Q2. And if we started saying that now, maybe there's a chance people would do it.
Yeah, by the 6 week deadline, that's what I meant. Like after 6 weeks, you don't have a Q2 budget anymore. You are already starting with Q3, so you have 1 month leeway until Q2 ends.
I just think it should be less. 6 weeks. That's like halfway into the quarter. I think we should be saying end of this month. Is there anybody who is in a position where they wouldn't be able to get it in by the end of the month? It's like 12 days, you know?
Yeah, I agree with Bunny. We discussed the same thing the other day on governance. It shouldn't be an operational problem. I didn't even apply the R&D because there's not a limit. The time limit is already, so I have time to do it. Like I can do other stuff. But if you would have told us that we should have done it already, you will have it. It will be there already.
Well, I do agree that we may need the stricter timelines, but then on the other side, we also still don't have budget templates or like, I don't know what level of people are orienting here and what kind of work groups they have. So that's why I'm giving more leeway, but it's already taking month away compared to last month. And then the next Q3 will already be a bit of more in line. So it's like, yeah, now it's like in the middle of quarter. Next fund, it's like the first month of quarter, you are still able to do Q3 proposals, and then
See, the thing is,
Q4 would be you cannot do Q4 proposals on Q4.
Speaking as a deadline junkie, if you give me 6 weeks, I will take 6 weeks, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. We don't want to string it out that long. Do we?
Yeah, but there's another player here. There is a danger that you don't get funded. Like you wait for the last week, somebody blocks you, you're out of this quarter. So there is this, you want to get it in because you want to make sure that you get funded from this quarter, assuming you need resources for that. And another thing is there is a finite amount of treasuries. So you want to make sure you're early in before the budget is up. So that kind of gives this, so yeah, that's why it has to do that.
Sorry to open cans of worms, but isn't the total amount that the Ambassador program gets due to be redecided on the 20th of May? And I'm just like, is there going to be any change to it? What happens? Sorry, this is a really stupid time to even bring this up right at the end of a meeting, but backtracking to what you said, Tevo, there's not that many work groups. I wonder if we could just do some outreach to those who haven't yet submitted their Q2 bids and just go, look, are you close? Are you nearly there? And if there's anybody who genuinely isn't, then okay, maybe we have to give them 6 weeks. But if everyone's like, yeah, I can get it in by the end of the month, that's fine, then we could get it all wrapped up, couldn't we? I just don't want to. I mean, the reason I'm pushing on this is that certainly for Archives work group, and I think to an extent for onboarding, we didn't know until the 3rd month of the quarter what budget we had. And that really impacted on our decisions about what to do, because we're like, I'm not starting a piece of work if I'm not 100% sure that it can be funded in this quarter. So, and that's why when you look at our budget, we'll see there's quite a lot of things that we didn't start when we said we would start them. I think it really holds things up.
Can I jump on to add something? I agree with Bunny. At the same time, this was a quarter that was out of the regular, let's say. We end up having more resources. There was a decision making between all of us. But taking that out of consideration, if we lower the time, so we reduce the time, that's why we're talking to have a final approval before budget, something that works in other areas of development. Okay, you're a guild in between an organization like this, but it's a corporation. Okay, and you're in charge of an apartment, let's say, whatever, production, in a production line. If you don't submit changes on your budget, you use the same the budget before. So that worked as a safe So that will regulate the same amount of parts that you will use. And at the end, it will showcase an amount of deliverables similar with the ones you have a quarter before, and it's work on production based, so output based strategy for production. The same like a restaurant, you sell an amount of pizzas, so you will use the same amount of dough and X, so you do that in operations in our organization. We can find a way to use this kind of triggers that if you don't do it before this time, well, we use the last budget. And at the same time, we are having a lot of increase on the budgets, as you mentioned, Tevo. And that's probably, it needs to be validated on why and how and all of that. So we need a time to process that, but we need to reduce it because sometimes, so guilds are not working without the budget. We are in this already half of a month, and we keep developing on this. So we should be able to, even if we don't have approval or change on the budget before should be able to probably. That's something to use.
Okay, so what I wrote down is that we're gonna have an end of 24th April. It's gonna be the deadline for cohort 1. And we put on a question mark, do we allow a cohort 2 for quarter 2? So in the next Treasury Guild call, we're gonna look at what we are being given and how many blockers we're gonna get, because what we are given is basically, we see the proposal, we see the budget sheet, and we see 4 contributor votes on do they consent, do they agree with these proposals, or there are any blockers. We're gonna look into proposal blockers, so we're gonna analyze the results, and then based on what we see, we also then ask ourselves, do we allow more proposals to be submitted because of reasons? And if we don't, then we lock in quarter 2, and every other proposal that is being submitted after this 24th April will be quarter 3 proposals. There is also discussion about USD dollars. So every proposer is going to make a USD budget proposal. We're going to aggregate all of these USD budgets in the quarterly workgroup budget calculator. So one thing is, yeah, you can put it into Treasury Guild channel, and I put it here, or you put your proposal here, because this is the end goal. And here we have this requested in Ajax. So this is the, if we are not reaching the quarterly budget limit, this is going to be the column that locks in the Ajax price. Your work group can request constantly from Treasury Manager. How you request, that's a whole another story. We usually use Tevo. Some other people are using different methods. If we go over budget, then we are going to establish fitted budget, but we may need to discuss that because we never really, it didn't work out last quarter. Let's say that. I hope I answered the investigation. Okay, I don't want to keep holding you hostage for that long. So with this, I'm gonna host the recording of this call, but we can stay in the room.
Can I just ask where we're taking this now? Because I still think the vote, there does need to be a consent process about the budgets, and we need to decide what the criteria are and all that. Where's that going to be? Are we going to take that to governance as well, or should onboarding draft something and let people disagree with it and go from there?
Yes, extra work can be done. For now, from Treasury Guild side, we are at the time prepared to create consent forms if we don't do the social voice tool.
Okay.
Okay, well, cool. Then with this, we end today's Treasury Guild call.